Then, I had another question about death. So, why is it mortals grieve so much about the thing? I mean, it definitely hurts there for a little while, but it's not that bad.
They see it as their one and only chance. Imagine if after you perished, that was it. Back to the infinite chaos. Everything about you returned to how it was before you were even there.
But that's absurd. One life. Though, that's horrible even to think about.
I know, right? Some of them know that isn't how it is and try to tell their kind about what it is we do here, but it's slow going getting the information out. Either way, I get to be the bearer of good news.
Didn't know you saw it that way.
Hades is a game of death.
No! Keep trying vainly as often as you like.
Zagreus, the ill-fated son of Hades, is cursed with his father's blood, forever tethering him to the domain of the dead, despite his incessant attempts to escape its clutches. Every run to the surface sees him battling through the 3 treacherous levels of the underworld. The final gatekeeper to the surface is none other than his own father, the Lord of the Underworld.
It gusts senselessly whichever way it pleases.
Hades stays true to the oldest rule of video games. Failure means death. Each time Zagreus is killed, he washes up in the pool of Styx, gateway to his father's house. And with each subsequent return, he partakes in new conversations with the Underworld staff, unlocking more pieces of his past, discovering new insights into the cryptic ties tethering him to his father's domain. The difference with Hades' approach to failure is in the way it utilizes Greek mythology to make the player rethink the concept of dying. Instead of something to be feared or avoided, death is the only means by which you are able to advance the story and improve your abilities for use in subsequent runs. I found that the typical frustration of a game over was now met with the onset of a new sense of determination, as death became equated with opportunity. The acceptance of death as inevitable made it easier to decide which upgrades to choose or which path to take, because I knew I would be back again shortly, and any wrong decision could be made right the next time.
Let's see how this goes.
The more I played Hades, the more I found myself re-examining my own feelings toward death and failure. The faces of Greek mythology scattered throughout the game became windows of insight, leading me to rethink my perception of what it means to lose, to rethink my view of failure, not as an end, but instead as opportunity.
Although there are innumerable ways for one to die, our danger-seeking prince has come to know a sizable variety.
Advancing through the game, Zagreus' countless deaths strengthened not only his abilities, but also his resolve to mend the twisted relationships scattered throughout Greek mythology. As Zagreus would evolve in death, so would the legendary figures surrounding him. The lowest level of the underworld, Tartarus, is home to criminals and sinners, and among them, Sisyphus. In life, he was a king who twice cheated death. Now, his eternal punishment is to roll a boulder up a hill, only for it to tumble back down upon reaching the peak. His story originally stood as a warning to any humans who may attempt to escape the inevitable. But in death, he has found solace in what was supposed to be punishment. Death gave him the chance to see the beauty and peace in his eternal task. Even after Zagreus frees him of his punishment, he decides willingly to spend his unending days with his new underworld companion, Boldy.
Baldy has got you covered.
Found tucked away in a hidden corner of Asphodel, Eurydice whiles away eternity, singing forgotten melodies. A tale of two halves. In life, Orpheus and Eurydice were separated by a snake bite, a bite that would take Eurydice's life prematurely. After a lengthy journey, Orpheus made a pact with Hades to return Eurydice to the land of the living, but his lack of faith and conviction left her doomed to the underworld at the last moment. Orpheus met his own end shortly thereafter. Classically, their story served as a lesson in humanity's inability to escape their own demise. But much like Sisyphus, the two found a new life in death. Zagreus manages to free Orpheus from the contract binding him to the House of Hades, allowing a reunion for the long-lost lovers. Within the twisting paradise of Elysium sits Patroclus. While alive, he was romantic partner to the great warrior Achilles. In death, he became but a shell of his former self, while Achilles was contracted to work directly under Hades. Their complicated story, weaved together by suffering, stood as an example of the dangers of pride, pain, and regret, a reminder of the inevitability of fate. Though, once again, Zagreus' determination to help those around him altered their fate. He manages to change Achilles' contract, allowing the two to find each other once more in Elysium, even if only for brief moments at a time. In death, Achilles finally learned the importance of taking a risk to accomplish one's goals. Throughout the course of the game, Zagreus uses the constant cycle of fighting, death, and rebirth to his advantage. The Underworld's various trials enable him to mend familial relations, develop connections to mythical figures, and bring his mother back to her rightful place as Queen of the Underworld. And all of this is achieved through repeated failure. Every time Zagreus is killed, it brings him closer to his ultimate goals. Death is the binding force that brings order to the Underworld, and the one true catalyst for his growth. The only way to succeed in Hades is to fail. And now, hopefully the point of this video is becoming clear. The main lesson I learned from this game: failure and death are not concepts to be feared or avoided. In fact, they are just the opposite. Hades is a brutal, punishing, and increasingly difficult game that challenges the player to see losing as an opportunity for growth. I found that this lesson can be applied to more than just the game. It can be applied to the very nature of life itself. It is only in the sting of defeat, the shame of loss, and the embracing of failure that we are able to begin anew with better abilities and a stronger resolve. Only through accepting the inevitability of death and the value in failure may we experience true growth and create new possibilities for the future. It is the only way to progress as beings of this world. Death brings life. Failure brings success. They are but two sides of the same coin. Every time we fall, no matter how far, the only way is back up. So often we find ourselves slaves to the pattern of fearing death and avoiding failure. But Hades teaches a lesson against these base instincts. Perhaps it teaches us that in running from death, we are running from the very opportunity to live.
Such revelry, of course, is unbecoming of the name of Hades and the fearsome reputation of the underworld. For if mortals were to have no fear of death, then they would have no fear of anything at all. A well-kept family secret, then, this would live on to be.